After 5 years living and working in Paris, I think I'm now ready to share with you the list of things that I find particular, not to say weird, about doing business in France that I'm still not quite used to. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This channel is all about how to turn your passion into a profitable business. So the first thing, which is kind of odd to me, is that they start their emails with bonjour, which means good morning or hello, without actually naming the person they're addressing the email to. Like they could be talking to Jessica, but they'll be like just bonjour, and then they talk about whatever they want to talk about. And I find that's very quite disturbing because it doesn't take a lot of time to actually type the name of the person and make the email more personal. Oh, and if you have a meeting with the French person, they don't usually bother if they're running a few minutes late. Like, say, for example, you have this meeting at 10 o'clock. If they know they're going to be arriving at 10:07, like they're not going to be sending you a message or calling you, which I'm still not used to. Like, recently I had an appointment with this lady in a coffee shop at 10. So neither was the lady there nor the coffee shop was open. So I almost thought that I had the wrong day and the wrong time, but I called her and was like, hey, I'm outside of the coffee shop. You're not here. The coffee shop is closed. What do I do? And she's like, oh, I'm coming. And yeah, it's perfectly fine. And on the topic of meetings, they don't usually set like a starting time and finish time. Like if you know you have a meeting at 5 o'clock, you can be like, okay, at 6:30, I'm gonna be at the gym. You can't, because you don't know how long that meeting is going to take. It could take an hour, it could take 2 hours, it could take 3 hours. So if you're not the person leading the meeting, it's very difficult for you to know exactly what time you're going to be finishing. And this is something that I inquire a lot when I'm invited to events or to meetings. I'm like, okay, so it's from what time to what time exactly? So that information is not given up front. And still on the topic of meetings, usually when you meet like a French person, they rarely look at you in the eyes. So eye contact is not their strength. Like you could have someone in a meeting talking for like 30 minutes without looking at the crowd. He or she will be looking on the ground or somewhere, far away, with that monologue without really engaging with the person in front of them. Yeah, that's kind of like strange. On a different topic, they still use a lot checks and checkbooks. And I remember when I first moved to France, I went to the bank and the bank asked me if I needed like a checkbook. And I said, no, I don't need a checkbook. I'm going to pay everything by card or by, like a wire. And I remember going back to the bank and asking for a check. It's still a widely common thing to pay by checks. Some places also accept cash, but you need to make sure to have like an invoice or receipt. Otherwise, they're just gonna cash it and not declare it, which I think a lot of people like to do that. If they can't avoid paying taxes, they will do it in any way possible. So French people, they like to ask about things, like if you have a shop or a restaurant or a place or a kiosk, they would come and inquire about your product or service without any intention of buying the product or the service. It's just a matter of like, out of curiosity. Oh, and another thing, they still struggle with foreign languages, and particularly English. So it's the e-phone and not the iPhone. It's the fastbook and not Facebook. Oh, dress code is super important. Like, there's nothing like flip-flops and short. That's impossible. In Paris, in France, there is this casual chic thing, which is a widely accepted thing. But in some companies, you still need to have this white shirt and suit and tie, and you need to have this immaculate, like look with like a nice watch, just because of the type of job. But generally speaking, in the business area, you still need to dress nicely, because here you are what you wear. If you want to do business in France, you better like coffee, because the coffee machine or coffee, the culture of coffee, having coffee in general, that's where all the juicy and crucial and critical things are being talked and discussed about. So you need to hang out in places where there are a lot of people who are mingling, who can give you like scoops about, partnership, business opportunities, and so on. So you need to hang out in those areas, and generally in companies, that's in the coffee machine area. Lunch break here is sacred, and one of the things that I found very shocking is that a lot of companies would close between like 12 and 2. I would go to the bank at like 12:15 and they'll be like, sorry, we can't take your order now, we're closing in 10 minutes. And I'm like, what? It took me a while to actually get used to that system of like, okay, 12 to 2, nothing is happening. There's no need to call that person between 12 to 2 because there's the lunch break. There's no way to have any sort of meeting during that time unless it's like a lunch meeting. So yeah, there's that culture of like lunch is sacred, and a lot of businesses close around lunchtime. So in France, we don't talk about sexual harassment. We talk about casual flirting. And that means somebody could be like talking to you in a flirty manner, but you shouldn't be taking it as like sexual harassment. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because during COVID, like all shops, all restaurants were closed. And I was talking with this partner of mine who was coming from outside of France. I mean, it was a to-be partner, supplier, and we needed to meet. I suggested we meet at a co-working space because, like restaurants, coffee shops were all closed. And he said, no co-working space. No, that's not for me. Come to my hotel. And I was like, well, coffee shops and restaurants are still closed. So even like your hotel would have the restaurant closed. And he'd be like, no, we'll meet at my room. And I was like, what? Like I'm meeting this person for the first time. I'm gonna meet him in his hotel room. And the way he was saying it was so casual, like there was nothing bad to be like, yeah, it was just normal. There's no place to meet. Let's meet in my room. Oh, and colleagues, business partners, and employees in general would spend more time, talking trash and gossiping and cracking jokes than actually do the work. I remember I was partnering up with this training center and I was the trainer back then. And I wouldn't go every day. It was like only twice or 3 times a week. I was working from their offices, but whenever I was there, the director would be like spending the entire time talking, laughing, sharing jokes, and I was like, oh my god, like where's the time to actually do any deep work? Like she was like keeping us busy with her jokes and all the gossip, but no chance for us to like really get serious about our work. And I feel it's the same in many other companies where joking, socializing is more important than actually doing the actual work. Another thing is that sales strategies here, they're a bit like relaxed. There isn't that aggressive way of getting you to buy things. Yeah, you might find it good or bad, whatever, but that's kind of like strange in a world where we're pushing people to buy. So if I inquire for a quote, for example, they would send me a quote, but they're not gonna harass me to like get me to purchase and make the order with them and bombard me with like promotions and with like only today kind of offers or one-time offers or limited offers. So they're pretty relaxed. Like I feel sometimes like they don't really need to sell, like they're pretty laid back, and it's more like a pull strategy where they're attracting clients rather than pushing clients to make the purchase. Another thing that is super important is vacation. They plan their entire year and work around vacation, meaning there's Christmas, but there's also Easter, there's the summer holidays, there's La Toussaint in October. There's so many vacations and people, I feel like they're all the time traveling. How is it possible that this is a well-advanced, Western country? Because I feel like people don't work that much and they're always traveling, always going abroad. Yeah, maybe it's my circle of people, but that's the feeling that I get. And finally, if you're planning to travel or to organize an event, you have to know that there are strikes going on in Paris and in France in general, quite a lot. For example, Air France could be doing some strikes, or SNCF, which is the main transport company in France. So that would actually disturb all your plans. You need to know that in advance. And at the beginning, I was like, oh my God, I can't, what is going on? Like, and even like 2 days ago, there was traffic jam on the highway and I didn't know what was going on. It kept going on for probably an hour or so. And then I realized there were strikes on the highway. So the employees were blocking the highways. So people had to take like other smaller roads to get to where they want to go. So that was slowing down all the traffic and people getting really mad. But hey, that's part of the system. This is why, which is like the funniest thing, there is like a calendar for strikes. So you could know today if any companies or unions or employees are already planning their strikes, and you can plan your life according to that calendar. All right, guys, let me know which one of these you find the most interesting. And if you have more examples of weird things you find about doing business in France, definitely share them down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.